Welcome, everyone, to celebrate Earth Day with Citizen Science, Explore, Learn, and Contribute. We are so excited to have you here. We're going to wait a few minutes to get started. Emma is setting up the live stream. If you're watching on Facebook, you can be watching on Facebook soon. Great to see some familiar faces. This is a webinar, so you don't have access to audio or video today, but you have access to the chat, and we're going to be doing a lot of fun polling and questioning on Mentimeter, which we'll introduce to you in just a moment. In the meantime, let us know where you're joining from in the chat. Okay.
And we are live to Facebook.
Awesome. Hey, everyone, if you're watching on Facebook, welcome to Celebrate Earth Day with Citizen Science. Explore, learn, and contribute. 1 million acts of science. Emma's going to tell us all about that in a little bit. Welcome, everyone. Hey, Kathy. Nice to see you from New Jersey. We have Lorraine from Colorado. Wonderful. Nice to see you. I see you in my heart. We have Katie in Wisconsin, Dolores in North Dakota. Wonderful. Welcome. Yay. Folks from all over the country. Okay, let's get started. We have a really jam-packed, fun and exciting event for you today. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun polling, as I mentioned, on Mentimeter, which anybody can do anywhere that's watching this webinar in order to use Menti. This is our first poll. I know some of you just put it in the chat, but we're going to just use this as a practice poll. Where are you joining from today? So instead of typing in the chat, go to Mentimeter, and if you're hosting a watch party, hey Branson, and welcome Farmington Public Library in Missouri. Anybody, your whole group should be able to do this. So you can go on your phone or on another tab to menti.com. You can use the QR code that's on the screen, and the code for this session is 267-3262. And where are you joining from? I'm going to do it too so that my place comes up on. Couple people from Farmington, Washington. Let's see if mine comes up. Philadelphia. It's a beautiful day here. Kind of scary for April, the weather wise. Oh, a couple people. Oh, yeah, that's right. Joanne's in Philadelphia too. Oh, nice Broomall. Wonderful. Mile High, Colorado. Great. So great to see you all. Okay, next slide, please. So we are joined by an amazing group of presenters and our dear partners. First, I'm Tara from SciStarter. I'm joined by Emma from SciStarter. You'll hear from both of us throughout the webinar. We're also joined from our dear friends at STAR Net, Claire Ratcliffe. We also have Taryn Lynchenberg from the Chicago Botanic Garden, who's going to talk about Budburst, and Joanne Woods, also in Philadelphia, from the Free Library of Philadelphia, and also our partners at Instant Wild. This is funded today by the Institute for Museum Library Services in partnership with the Moore Foundation, and also always in collaboration with our friends at Arizona State University. So some of you already said this, but we're curious. Today, we really pitched this event as a watch party because we want to see who is joining from a library group. So if you're hosting a watch party, let us know right now if you are and how many people you are joined by, because the number here may not be a representative of how many people are actually watching this webinar. All right, 3. Maybe more joining soon. Hey, everyone. If this is your first introduction to citizen science and SciStarter, we are so excited to have you. And if it's not, we're also excited to have you too. Nice. More on the way. Awesome. It's great to see this. All right. We're going to keep moving on. We'll maybe ask this again throughout. Okay, so this is for everyone again on your Menti. When you think of Earth Day, what's the first word that comes to mind? It's going to be a word cloud. So type in, what is the first word that comes to mind? I know what mine is when I put mine in. Conservation. Awesome word. We're going to definitely be talking about that today. Oops, I should have changed the colors there. Can't see some of the words on in the background. Recycle, litter, cleanup, home, plants, trees, recycling, trees, earth, community. I see ecosystems, green in the words that we can't see. Worldwide. The bigger the word, that means more people are typing it in. So conservation, recycling, and green. Flowers, nature. Awesome.
We're getting better at the word cloud too. Good job, everyone.
Yeah, this is great. 31 responses. That's awesome. Okay.
Next.
So we're really here to talk about how citizen science can really help and contribute to all of those things that you just said: nature, conservation, protecting our earth, engaging in scientific research with collaborators in our community. And so that's what citizen science is. So if you're not familiar with it, we're just going to really quickly throw some definitions out. Citizen science is a global movement that enables people from all walks of life, you can be pretty much all ages, to collaborate with scientists for research purposes. As you see in this picture, this is a picture of Michelle and Sonia. They're monitoring bird migration for science and for scientists. Next slide. It can involve lots of things. It can involve observing the night sky. It can involve observing biodiversity, monitoring things like pollinator activity, wildlife, bird migration, measuring. You can measure water quality, light pollution, marine debris. You can help analyze lots of data there's almost too much data for some scientists, which is a great problem to have, but they need folks to help analyze videos and online images. And you can help collect actual samples, whether it's biological or in nature. And all of this is citizen science if it involves collecting, observing, monitoring, analyzing, and contributing that data and back to scientists. That's what really sets citizen science apart from other types of science activities. You are actually contributing your data to a larger data set that scientists are using in their research. And the beauty of citizen science is that it can happen anywhere in your backyard. Here, for example, Sophie and her dad are counting pollinators for research, in your hobbies, with your friends, family, alone. It's really wide open, and here at SciStarter, we try to make it as accessible as possible, which we're going to be telling you more about now. But first, just based on that little definition of citizen science, which of these activities is citizen science? And there may be more than one answer. So is it A, taking a photo of a plant during a nature hike and uploading it to the iNaturalist app? B, organizing. Oh no, there's a poll for this one, Emma. Go to the next slide. Ah, there we go. B, organizing a beach cleanup. C, planting a pollinator garden to increase pollinator activity. Or D, testing local water and reporting your findings to crowd the tap. So which of these is considered a citizen scientist activity? And it may be more than one. I'll give you a hint. It definitely is more than one.
There are some clear favorites here.
Definitely. Okay, that looks like it is about the end of the poll. So One of these is not citizen science. The rest are, so let's go through them. Taking a photo of plant during a nature hike and uploading it to iNaturalist is definitely considered a citizen science activity. Planting a pollinator garden to increase pollinator activity, maybe. Organizing a beach cleanup, maybe. Texting your local water tap, texting. I wrote that. Testing your local water tap and reporting the findings to Crowd the Tap definitely is a citizen science activity. So B and C are not currently in the state that they're described here, citizen science activities. Tell me in the chat why not. And you can discuss amongst yourselves too if you're in a watch party together. So Katie said data is not being reported.
Got a thumbs up on the screen.
Great. That is, yes, that's right. So if you're organizing a beach cleanup, it's a wonderful activity. We recommend it. However, it's not considered citizen science because you're not contributing data back to anybody. However, there are projects that you can participate in where you're not only organizing and cleaning up the beach, but also classifying the litter and uploading what types of litter that you find, which is really helpful for scientists to know whether it's, plastic or what types of materials you're finding. So there are ways to make that a citizen science activity. Also, planting a pollinator garden, amazing. We really need that right now. I don't know if you saw, like even the New York Times has articles now about pollinator decline. It is a huge topic. We love that, do it. But in order for it to be considered citizen science, you need to report something back. So there's projects where you can either take an image of a pollinator that comes to visit your, pollinating plant and upload it to iNaturalist, or there are ways to actually count pollinator activity and report that data back to projects like Caterpillar Count or the Great Sunflower Project. So there are ways to turn these activities into citizen science activities. Remember, it's about sharing and collaborating with scientists. Okay, so how can citizen science support a healthy planet? I hope that you can start to already see this because it's about collaborating and helping accelerate scientific research. Because of citizen science, we know really cool things like the human belly button contains 50 plus species of bacteria. The only reason we know that is because people contributed that swabs of their belly button to scientists. We also know that there are hundreds of exoplanets being discovered. The New York Times just had an article about this the other day. It was breaking news, right? There might be life on other planets. Something was discovered. That was awesome. Bird species have been identified as being lost to science because they haven't been seen in a long time. We're discovering invasive ants hiking and spreading through hitchhiking, and a really cool project called Stall Catchers, which helps accelerate Alzheimer's research. Through a catch-a-thon, 3.5 months of lab equivalent research was completed through volunteer participation. So it's accelerating research. We are having, it's also broadening the scope of who can contribute to science, and it's empowering people to become lifelong learners and value increasing their understanding of the way that the world works, and that's why we love citizen science. Okay, Emma's going to tell us how to join SciStarter, which and a little bit about SciStarter so that you can participate in some of these projects today.
Awesome. So for all of you here today, we will have an opportunity to actually do a project together. So I'm going to have us pause here to see how many of us can log into SciStarter as account holders so that you can later have your participation count as a part of our Citizen Science Month goals. So during Citizen Science Month, which is April, and we'll talk more about this later on as well, we're aiming for a certain amount of acts of science. It's called 1 million acts of science. We will definitely get past 1 million. So we already kind of have. So we're trying to aim for that 2 million mark before the end of the month. And so in order to get you set up to count this activity as a part of those acts of science, we would love for you to join SciStarter so we can make sure you are counted. So I'll type it in the chat, but I know some of you are going to be not on a computer right now, but it is scistarter.org/login. If you were to go simply to the page that's on the screen right now, which is the scistarter.org/finder, you'll see up here login and sign up in the top corner. And so to avoid confusing browsers right now, I'm going to just point here. It's really easy to get to that point. If you already have a SciStar account, feel free to drop a line in the chat to share that you already have a SciStar account or give us a thumbs up. But we'll wait a couple moments here to make sure there's any questions. I got a thumbs up on the screen. Perfect. That works too. You can do it through the Mentimeter app. If you have it open still, you can give us a thumbs up. And just a note too, your participation in all these projects, because you have an account, you'll also be able to see your participation on your dashboard, which is a really nice way to see just how much impact you make on Earth Day and any impact beyond that too. Thank you, Megan. I got a thumbs up there, got a couple on the screen. I'll wait and say a couple other things about how awesome SciStarter is while you're continuing to do that. While you're on there, the Finder allows you to find projects that you might enjoy based on the topic you want. So using our advanced search, if you choose a random word or you want to specify like you want to do something while on a hike, etc., you can add that in so you can get some good project recommendations. All right, I'll move us forward just to save us time because we have a lot to cover as well. And I'm going to pass it along actually to Claire to talk about our other hosts of the evening. Go ahead, Claire.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Emma. So I just wanted to mention this really great resource that we put together at the STAR Library Network. This is called our online STEM Activity Clearinghouse. A link to this is in that link bank that I put in the chat earlier. But this is really meant for educators, library staff, anyone who is facilitating STEM learning experiences. There are over 500 hands-on STEM activities listed on the STEM Activity Clearinghouse, ranging from pre-K all the way through adult activities. We've really curated it specifically for libraries. We've tested a lot of these activities in libraries to make sure it really fits in that unique space of education that you provide to your communities. But honestly, any informal educator, this is a great resource for them. So you can sort through the activities based on age, the theme, the materials. It's not just space science, but we have all kinds of earth science, citizen science, engineering design challenges. So check it out if you're an educator facilitating STEM. And on the next slide, we have curated a page for patrons or for the learners. So this is called scigames.org. This is really meant for the learner to experience. So if you're here watching this and you're looking for things you can do at home, things you can give your kids, scigames.org is a great web-based platform. You do not need a login or a password to join. And we have, I think over 50 activities that you can engage with, again, ranging from space science activities to earth science activities to coding activities. You can code a rover on another planet. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. We're constantly updating it, adding new activities. You can see here featured on our homepage, we have a new astronomy puzzle of the day. So that changes out every single day. There's a new picture that has been broken into a puzzle that you can put together. But that's just one example of the fun activities we have on scigames.org.
I will definitely be doing a puzzle of the day after this. Sweet. Thank you so much, Claire. And just a reminder for everyone, I apologize, I probably should have added this to the slide next, but just a heads up for the actual login code. I just dropped the QR code here for you if you want to use that to log into SciStarter. And as I mentioned before, we have 1 million X of Science, so to make it to 2 million, we really are not too far away. So please join us so that we can get to that point. And you'll have the opportunity to participate in it today, so that will count towards that as well. Awesome. Okay, so moving forward, we would like to know what kind of citizen science projects or topics have you participated in before? And you'll actually, I think, add this to the chat. Let me double check. Yep, we'll add this to the chat. So any of the projects that you've participated in the past, let's say maybe you've done the Great Sunflower Project or even a topic that you've done in citizen science. Maybe that's none, and you can go ahead and add any thoughts towards what you would like to do in the future. What types of projects or topics you want to participate in. We got solar eclipse. Yay, Kathy. Yeah, tons of solar eclipse projects last year, which was really fun. If you were able to be a part of any of those, that's awesome. You were lucky to be on the line. And for those of you who were not, maybe you were looking at other things. Maybe it was still heliophysics, sun science, but not necessarily on the eclipse. Eclipse soundscapes, yes, during the eclipse, solar eclipse. Yes, Claire, I did that one too. It was great. Sweet. Lots of Zooniverse projects. Yes, Branson, I know. We did so many together like last week. Amazing. And for those of you who are doing watch party style, if anyone's like saying things out loud, we could have like one typer to add in some thoughts, and you might already be doing that. Solar eclipse, bees, bird migration, bird songs. Well, good for that because we'll be talking about our birds and we'll be talking about plants, which relates to bees in a moment here. eBird. Yes, I love eBird. Newly brought into eBird. I was so scared of it. I'm not scared of it anymore. All right, globe. Yay, that's a great example. All right, so we're going to switch up into 3 different topics for the rest of the hour. So for the next 40 minutes, we're going to be talking about 3 different topics. The first of which is going to be phenology. So when we talk about phenology, that is seasonal change. And so we get to see what happens over seasonal change. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to both Claire and to Taryn to talk about phenology activities and projects you can do to monitor and experience seasonal change, and to help support that through citizen science, but also find other ways to engage. And I love the examples that were added in just now too. Backyard bird count, bloom time for flowers. Absolutely. We'll be talking about Budburst in a second here with Taryn, so that'll be exactly what you're looking for. SciStarter pollinators, yeah, the Great Sunflower Project is likely what that's referring to. These are great examples. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Taryn. Go for it.
Awesome. Hi. So Budburst is affiliated with SciStarter, and we're a project of the Chicago Botanic Garden. And we focus on believing that if you see plants and notice nature in the world around you, we will do more to save plants and build action towards conservation. So our goal focuses a lot on growing a community of plant observers. So our biggest research project through Budburst asks how plants are adapting to climate change. And we have projects that also relate to how are plants and pollinators interacting, as well as the presence of monarch eggs on milkweed patches. So there's a whole lot to participate in. And so we're only able to answer these big questions by collecting data on all types of plants in all types of places at all times. And so none of this would be possible from one single scientist. That's why we're so lucky to have a great community of users collecting data with us. And so we were talking a little bit about phenology, how it relates to seasonal change, and what does it mean to observe this phenological changes. So we have the study of the timing of seasonal changes in plants and animals. And so this largely for plants means when they bloom, when their leaves unfold and branch out, and when their leaves change color in the fall. For animals, this can be the migration of birds or butterflies. So there's all sorts of things that we notice in our daily life that signal these seasonal changes. Many of us can think of them. Feel free to drop a couple in the chat if you want to shout out some seasonal changes. So here we have a picture of changing in maple trees. So this is specifically going from, we see flower buds bursting on the left, and then full leaves and ripe fruit on the right. So it's kind of all of that transition that might occur in the year, all of these phenological changes. So at Budburst, we watch when these changes occur, and our observations track the date of these changes. And noting the date of these changes in the year, like 2025, allows us to compare plant change to other years. So is flowering happening earlier in 2025 than it did in 2010? And we can also use the data we get to predict what seasonal change might look like in the future with changing environmental conditions. So we can use data collected now to predict when might flowering happen in 2050. And you can become a Budburst user today, and all you need is an account to get started and a plant to start observing. So you can sign up at budburst.org.register, and you want to select the button that says to sign up with SciStarter, and then that'll take you to a page about kind of authorizing SciStarter to share your account information. You're going to want to authorize that account sharing, and then your Budburst account and SciStarter will be linked, so we'll get all of your acts of science counted. And then I have a quick video of making an observation that I took, I think it was Monday, so yesterday, of an eastern redbud. And so this is just real quick. You could do it today. You can make an observation. You'll see your plant page and you'll click the button that'll take a photo and it'll give you some suggestions of what plant you might be looking at. Awesome. So that's an eastern redbud it's outside my office and we're eagerly awaiting flowering. You're going to select the plant that you're observing. Awesome. We provide some description. You can look and see like where is it distributed. Add an observation. I made a phenology observation, and then you can change the location. You can either do that by address and lat long, or you can click into the map and click on the pin and move it wherever you like. So you can get that really fine point. You're looking at that specific plant. Awesome. And then you can put the date you're making the observation, and then we ask you about different plant parts. So for the deciduous trees, we look at flowers. You can select different spots on the wheel and it'll tell you the definition of that phenophase. And you can also click in the wheel and take an up-close photo. So we're seeing budburst. We're seeing that petal color come through on the scales. We're not seeing any fruit right now, and we are having some leaf budburst. I got a really, really blurry kind of photo because it wasn't going to focus, but we're seeing that green at the edge of the branches. And then there's some other additional wheels if you scroll down, kind of related to autumn and plant color change. But I landed on leaf budburst because that's where we're at with the best definition there. And we're not seeing any of that leaf color change. We're going to wait till autumn. You hit next. You can add any notes if you like about your observation. Maybe you're not sure about your species or not sure about what you picked. You can always make those in the notes. Maybe something fun was visiting it. You saw a bird in the nearby area. And then you submit that observation. It'll show up kind of right where you put that pin and you can click into that observation. You can make more observations on that same plant and you can see any stats about it. So that's kind of, you can get started today and make an observation with Budburst.
That was so helpful. I've done budburst before, but seeing it all done by someone who does it often was very, very helpful to see an example. I know what would trip me up usually as a participant in it is making sure I have the right definition for budburst versus the various different like stages. And so what you said about the notes, that is probably the best case scenario if you're not sure about which one it should be. It's a wasn't sure about the status of the leaves, that type of note, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice because it's this very like flexible kind of thing. Like, I don't know exactly what percentage of flowers are open. So it's practice, and you can always make notes of like, I wrote 50, but I think it's about 30% and things like that.
Gotcha. Love it. Thank you for making that video for us. That was very helpful. All right. Passing it along, I believe, to Claire. Go for it.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks so fun. I can't wait to try the Budburst program. I'm obsessed with watching how things change as the year goes on. So I might as well collect some data and contribute to science. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a collection we have on the STAR Net online clearinghouse. We have a whole collection called Rewilding that is all about activities to do to celebrate the earth. And one of the featured activities I wanted to share here today was a guide to help nature reclaim its space. So rewilding is just a term used for when you're taking a plot of land that has been, really heavily manicured over several years, and you want to just let it go back to its natural course of its ecosystem. So in this guide, we have a library facilitation guide that comes with short videos, both in English and Spanish, that talk about rewilding, what it is, why it's important ecologically. It also comes with discussion prompts that you can use in your program after you watch the video together. And then it comes with a step-by-step guide for a variety of ways that you can rewild some spot on the library grounds, whether that's, actually outside, if you have a garden space outside, or even just collecting some native soil from the community and bringing it in and watching what happens to it if it remains undisturbed, but maybe just with a little bit of water. So there's several different ways that you can turn this rewilding concept into a program with your patrons. We also created a a guide for patrons that all you have to do is print out and put on, your front desk, your circulation desk, and it's something available in English and Spanish that patrons can take home and do this at home. So it's a step-by-step guide for, first identify a plot of land to rewild, display a sign, because rewilding can be a little messy. And if your neighbors or your community isn't used to seeing, the native plants or just what some people call weeds pop up, if you put a sign there kind of explaining what you're doing, we find that people are a lot more tolerant to having a little patch in the community that they understand, what's going on ecologically here. Step 3, you're just going to kind of let the seeds go. There are instructions in the guide for how to, maybe dig up an area of the land, how to identify native plants and wildflower seeds that you can plant, and how to remove sod if that is in the way. And on the next slide, step 4 is to break down barriers. This is so that animals can pass amongst the community without having gates or fences in the way of their natural, migration or just movement patterns. Step 5, embrace the messiness. It will get a little messy. You'll start to see things like, maybe some spiky plants, maybe some, things with thorns and things like that, which are actually really important. And the guide talks about the ecological role that spiky plants play in offering protection to the animals that are seeking shelter there. Step 6 is reconsider the lighting. If you do have lights out in your yard or in the space that you're rewilding that are blue lights, that can have that can cause bird species or other animal species to not be able to use their nocturnal sight. So you can replace it. If you must have light, you can replace it with a more red or warm light that won't mess with a nocturnal animal's eyesight, or even have lights that are on a timer or, a motion sensor, so that if you need the lights while you walk past and you're, taking out the garbage or doing what you're doing, it'll turn on for you, but stay dark for those animals that need the darkness at night. And the last step is just sit back, enjoy. It's going to become beautiful. You're going to start to see those pollinators come in. You're going to start to see animals seeking refuge, and, spread the word. They're in the guide. It has ways to connect it back to citizen science by, registering your spot as a place for rewilding, and we can really add to the count for as we kind of create this patchwork across the country of spaces that folks are rewilding. You can let the project know that you're a part of this and kind of be added to that patchwork map. And on the next slide, at the back of the guide, there is a glossary. So this is just another great way for folks to learn, what is biodiversity? What are native plants? What are non-native plants? What are invasive plants? There's all these different categorizations for the plants out there. And there are a lot of different resources included in the guide to help you identify which plants, you might want to remove if they're invasive, or if they're native, let them be. So there's a great glossary here for folks to learn on their own at home. Yeah, so like I said, the library facilitation guide, if you were going to do this with a group of folks at your library, it comes with all different kinds of options for rewilding an outdoor space or just native soil. Like I said, resources for identifying different plant species, and there's all kinds of activity extensions as well to continue engaging visitors in rewilding efforts.
Awesome. I love the rewilding project. As someone who lives in an apartment complex, it's also one of those things where I wonder if you can tell us, do you know of any advice you have for folks who are in apartment complexes where they don't have control of the area, what you would recommend, or if there is a resource in there for someone trying to convince their management? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I would love to add an appendix, that's like maybe a letter template that you can give to your apartment manager or your landlord, because absolutely, you don't always have the jurisdiction, to just do this with the space that you live in. There are some tips included in the guide for how to have conversations with your neighbors. If, I share a fence with my neighbor, and I would really love to turn it into more of a shrubbery fence rather than, the the wooden fence that it is now. So there's strategies in there for just how to have that conversation. And like I said, there's an option for just going out and finding some native soil, putting it in a little garden bed and bringing it into your apartment. You can put it on the windowsill, maybe put some wildflowers in there, and if you're able to, you can open the window and let pollinators come in. But there are a couple different options if you don't actually have a plot of land that you are allowed to do this for.
And now I have a bag of wildflower seeds that I have something to do for, and it's not just walking around and spilling them everywhere on accident. Although maybe that would help anyway too. Don't listen to me. I'm sorry. Okay. Don't do that.
And I think, yeah, and I just wanted to add, there is step-by-step instructions as well for creating a sign, and just the importance of letting others know that you're helping to restore nature. So this has, again, we try to have multiple different options. So there's a write-up for how to build signs at a library. If you want to have this be a project, even if you can't at your library, I know these are municipal buildings. If you don't have the ability to rewild a plot on the library grounds, you can have a program where you're just making signs with folks, and then they can take them home or to wherever they are to do this type of work. So check out the create a sign for your rewilding project as well. And these are just a couple of different ways that you can connect that rewilding activity to citizen science. So start to document the plants and animals as you're watching the phenology, as that little plot of land changes over time. Contribute to one of the many citizen science projects that are hosted on SciStarter.
And just a reminder, if you haven't seen the chat, there is a link bank that Claire is dropping for you to review after this. So if you haven't, if you're at a watch party, please leave your email with the facilitator so they can get that information to you later. Great. All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Claire. And I think I'll probably be passing it back to you in a moment here, but we're switching to our topic number 2, which is migration and nature monitoring. So we're talking about birding activities because we are around spring migration. So you will see a lot of birds moving around very fast and moving across the country. And so these are projects that will take you outside for that, and also just for regular biodiversity inventorying, like a BioBlitz and whatnot. And we'll hear from Joanne about that in a moment here too. So the next slide. So before we do that, though, we do have a question, which I think, Claire, you added this question, so I'll stop talking so you can actually share it.
Yeah, so this is a little factoid that really blew my mind, but I would love to hear from you all. What do you think? How many birds die from window strikes per year in the US alone? So the options are A, 55,000, B, 250,000, C, 1.5 million, or D, 1 billion. And I'll give you a couple moments to think about that. Put your answer, you can put it in the chat or into Mentimeter.
Yep, another answer in the chat is C, so let's pretend that says 5. 1, 5, 1. Your time left over is about 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Oh, okay. 2, 1, and 0. Anybody a winner?
So one person got it correct. The answer is 1 billion. 1 billion birds die per year due to hitting windows in the United States alone, which totally blew my mind the first time I heard this. I was like, are there even that many birds in the US? Like, that seems like a huge amount of birds. But it's true. So this is something that is quite concerning, and something there are actionable steps that we can take to lower that number. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a DIY window decal. So this is really fun. It's a little crafty thing. Just uses very common materials. So you'll need something like Elmer's glue or some sort of white glue, some dish soap, a smooth plastic surface such as plastic wrap, or, in the how-to video, they're just using one of those sheet protectors. I think that's a great way to do it. Paintbrush, printable bird stencils, which are included in the activity write-up, and markers for decorating. This is an activity that was originally created by the Audubon Society, and STAR Net is in the process of creating a new library facilitation guide that's not out yet. It's hot on the press, but the Audubon guide is great. So the link to that is in the link bank. So on the next slide, I just first want to talk a little bit about the science behind bird vision. So birds do not see in the same way that humans do. They can see ultraviolet light, which we cannot see. They have 4 types of cones in the retina, where we only have 3. Cones are the part of our eye that registers color. And they often mistake reflections on windows for open space. So as birds are migrating, taking this massive migration, this journey across, the continent, they have a lot of obstacles to face. And so window decals, such as the one you can just make with this DIY activity, help to reflect UV light to make the glass visible to birds as an actual barrier and not just open space that they can fly through. Now, the important part is to make this actually effective is the decals should be pretty close together. So the more decals you put on the window, the better. They should be spaced no more than 2 inches apart. So that way, it's not the bird will see the whole window as something to not run into versus just, oh, there's a bird there, I can come over here and then smack. So you want to, put together as many as you can. There's other resources out there that you can get. There is reflective tape made specifically to be visible to birds. So if you don't have time to do a whole art project, you can order bird safe reflective tape on Amazon for super cheap. But this is just a really fun way to get kids involved and start talking about that science behind bird vision and do your part to lower that number of bird strikes that happen every year across the US. So I think that's it for this activity.
We pass it over to Joanne to talk about birding backpacks and citizen science via the library. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, I'm Joanne Woods. I'm the branch manager at the Andorra Library branch of the Free Library of Philadelphia, and I'm also the founder of the Free Libraries Birding Backpack Program. Our birding backpacks are available to borrow for 3-week loans from 20 of our 54 library locations, and they contain quality binoculars, a field guide, local trail maps, and information about our amazing partners. We use our birding backpacks at birding programs, of course, but we also use them at birding adjacent programs. So think bats, flora, insects, basically anything nature related. We're going to grab those birding backpacks and take them with us. Here you see some kids doing they're doing creek exploration and studying macroinvertebrates at a partnership program. Our partnerships are amazing because they provide us with resources and experts that we otherwise wouldn't have access to. And the backpacks are also a vector for citizen science projects. And iNaturalist is one of my favorites, and I'm going to talk about that more. But first, let me just tell you about a couple others. Some of these have already been mentioned, but Project Feeder Watch is just what it sounds like. You observe the birds that visit your feeder, and a lot of libraries participate in this. So you might want to contact your local library and find out if they have a Feeder Watch program that you can participate in. eBird is an amazing open source project where birders all over the world upload their data in one location, which makes it really cool because scientists can actually watch a species travel throughout the year, and they can track things like drops in population and use this data to study climate change, migration, natural and man-made challenges to species survival. Bird counts happen throughout the year. I think somebody mentioned earlier the Great Backyard Bird Count, which is probably the most popular one. There's also the Christmas Bird Count, which collects data on wintering birds. And then there's the Breeding Bird Survey as well. So these are organized walks where you would go to certain locations and track as many birds as you can find. Lights Out Philly is a project that takes place in Philadelphia, obviously. And their aim is actually to prevent window strikes, which Claire was just talking about. So they actually organize teams of people to go around tall, reflective buildings early in the morning and look for birds that have been affected by a window strike. So they're looking for birds that are injured, stunned, or even dead birds, and they transport them. So they'll take them to rehabbers, and the dead birds they'll take to the Academy of Natural Sciences to be studied. And then all of the birds that they find are photographed and uploaded in their Bird Safe Philly iNaturalist project, which you can see here on the photo. iNaturalist is really easy to use. It's quick to download and set up an account. And then once you're set up, you just go out, you observe nature, take photos, upload your photos, and click the share button. You can also see your observations show up on a map. And a really cool thing that teens like is that you can actually see your friends' observations. So if you live near somebody, you can kind of like look for their observations, and that's always fun. Later, the iNaturalist community, which includes scientists and naturalists, will go in and they'll look at your observations and confirm the identity of each species. Once you take a photo and add a location, you can click on the "What did you see?" button, and that'll pull up a list of possible identities for your species, and you can pick the one that makes the most sense. The app doesn't always get it right, but it's a really good starting point until the iNaturalist community weighs in and confirms that observation. With iNaturalist, which is a little bit unlike some of the other citizen science projects, you can upload things that aren't alive. So anything that is evidence of something existing. And this includes scat, tracks, nests, dead birds. You can even upload sounds. So you can do a sound recording and upload that. And that's really cool because as a birder, I can tell you that the majority of birds that I identify, I'm hearing, and I never actually lay eyes on them. So they're hidden in the trees. iNaturalist is used for projects called BioBlitzes. A BioBlitz aims to identify all of the species in a specific area during a specific time frame. The City Nature Challenge is a really big BioBlitz. It's where cities worldwide compete to identify the largest number of species. And libraries participate in this all the time and in varying ways. So I'm going to tell you 3 ways that the city of Philadelphia is going to participate. We're going to meet up with high school classes, and the kids will already have iNaturalist on their phones and they'll be ready to go. We'll go on nature walks and they'll upload their observations individually, but we're there as a group. So we're going to point stuff out to each other and learn together and have fun. Another library is going to be working with preschoolers, and they're going to do a story time, a nature story time, and then walk around the outside of their library building, making observations together. So in that case, it'll be the librarian who's doing all of the uploading. And then there are a few branches that are going to grab those birding backpacks and meet up with some of the Philadelphia birding clubs and do birding events. And they're going to make sure that all of those species get uploaded as well, so that everything counts for the City Nature Challenge. And before I forget, you can sign into your citizen science or your SciStarter account and add your username for your iNaturalist account so that everything will work together and you'll get your points on SciStarter, and it's very cool. And I think Emma's pulling that up to show you how you can do that right now.
Yes, it's so much, it's easier also to look at it too. So thank you for mentioning that. But if you have a
Sure.
SciStar account, which assuming you did sign up earlier during this event or before this in any case, this is where you would add it. So at your dashboard and your settings, so I'd hit info and settings, there's my face. And then I scroll all the way down and I would add my iNaturalist username right there. And that's how it'll count towards the 1 million acts of science. And throughout the year, you can see your observations throughout time, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. I just learned about that.
We've gained another. Oh, sorry. There we go.
That's okay. Okay. Next slide.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Yep. So, how many observations do you think were made during the 2024 City Nature Challenge? Is there a Menti for this or?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll add that QR code back. For reference, for anyone who's still thinking like, okay, wait, I need more context for City Nature Challenge. This is a weekend-long event from a Friday to a Monday, where you're making as many observations as humanly possible of your urban wildlife. How many observations? Give you 10 more seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last chance. 1, 0. All right. How did you do?
All right, 3 people got it right. It's 2,436,844 observations. There were 65,682 different species identified, and La Paz, Bolivia was the big winner with 4,548 different species.
That's a lot of species.
Yes, it is. The City Nature Challenge takes place this weekend. So you can start observing on Friday through Monday. Go out into nature, upload all of your observations. If you take photos, you can upload them later. Then there's an identification period, and the results will be published on May 5th. You can check out citynaturechallenge.org and look to see if your city is participating, but no worries if it's not, because you can still participate in the global project. So it's open to everybody. And thanks so much. Happy Earth Day. I'm going to turn it back over to you, Emma.
I love this bird picture. Thank you, Joanne.
I took that.
Did you really? Oh, that's so
Yeah.
well done. I can't get them to sit still.
Well, she's on a nest, or he's on a nest.
Oh, that does make it a little easier. Maybe they're more comfortable sitting right there. I'll have to find the nest, then I'll be a better photographer. If you start taking pictures of birds, just be aware it's a tough time, but that's easily remedied by the fact that you can upload it in an audio recording too. So not to worry. All right, for our last section of this event, which we have about 8 minutes for, so I'm hoping we can do maybe one observation or classification together. I want to make sure that you can walk away from this event having done a citizen science project, so we're going to switch to the topic of conservation, which is related to everything we've talked about so far, but just a different way to look at this stuff. Just to do a little temperature check on how we know about conservation. Conservation involves taking care of endangered species and at-risk species. And so I'm going to go ahead and put that QR code back up for you because I want to know which one of these is an endangered species. Do you know? Is it the monarch butterfly? Is it the giant panda? Is it the white rhino? Or is it the black-footed ferret? Any ideas? We'll give it a couple of seconds here. All right. If you had an idea of another endangered species to mention, have that in the back of your head because that's my next question. So if you want to add one to the mix, I'm looking forward to having more examples available. Okay, this is a really tricky question. I'm going to go ahead and move it forward or explain what's happening here. So amazingly, the white rhino is actually a success story for conservation. It is no longer endangered, although it is at risk sometimes. There's still risk and there's definitely a risk of poaching, but for the 4 of you who mentioned that one, we actually have a success there. It is no longer endangered. The giant panda, same situation. We have many of them back, and so they even sent some back to DC Zoo again. which is fun. And then the monarch butterfly is likely to join the list of endangered species, but it's not there yet. So that leaves our black-footed ferret is definitely an endangered species. There's only about, I want to say 300 or something of them, and they're all in the South Dakota Badlands area. So definitely one to be on the lookout for. So if you had any others in mind, what is another endangered species? Any other ideas or any other examples? I won't check you. You can choose whatever you'd like. I'm not gonna what is that called when you check it? Oh my gosh, what's the term?
Fact check.
Fact check. Thank you, Tara. My brain is deciding
Yeah,
to stop working.
it's almost bedtime on the East Coast.
Bedtime at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
California condor. Yeah, that's a great example. I'm pretty sure that one's still endangered. Yeah. All right. If that's our one example for now, I'm happy with that one. That's a good example. All right. So to close out today, I'm going to have us set up so that we know how to do Instant Wild, which is a conservation project. You're able to travel to many different places throughout the world to discover new species and help document what we see in camera trap photos. So these are organizations and research groups who have set up cameras in nature to be able to identify and see migration of species and activity and presence of species throughout a certain period of time. And then they send all those images to us as citizen scientists through this platform, through the Zoological Society of London. They send it to us in a mass amount of pictures for us to go through and determine where we see certain animals. If you're thinking, why can't an AI do this? It does do this. We send it through AI first, and then what it can't figure out, because humans have still figured out how to be better observers of these images, especially nighttime images, they leave to us. So some of it's done by AI, but not all of it can. And until we can figure out how to make it even better, it is up to us. So here is how you're going to do it. You already did this part, hopefully. If you didn't already do this part, do this at some point. That would be great. Second part, joining Instant Wild is very easy. This link will send you straight to the registration page. And it also has a checkbox at the bottom in registration that says link to your SciStarter account. So once you've used the QR code on the screen, you can just put in your same email that you used for SciStarter and then whatever username you would like. And then click the yes to link to your SciStarter account so that it will send that data over. It doesn't send the actual data, it just sends the frequency. So it'll say, you did it once. You did one observation. Nothing more than that. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do this. I won't spend too much time. If you would like me to show these instructions again at the end, I will do that. Just because I'd like us to get one done so we know how to do it for later. All right. 3, 2, 1. Moving on. All right, we're going to do a very specific project. If you were to scan this QR code, you would be pushed to the Laldega Hills project. And so what that does is there's a bunch of different projects. I'm sending us to Africa, to Kenya, so that we can look at a very specific area. This is the project that needs the most help. There's a lot of data that has not been reviewed yet. And so if we start here, we'll probably make the most impact. Now, just a note, people who look at these images are not the only ones. We're not the ones that scientists rely on. It's a bunch of us who will be looking at these things. And so in order to do it together, we have to have at least 10-ish or so people for us to identify as correct. Someone asked me to add the link to the chat, so I will do that now. If you missed the instructions for signing up, that's okay, because I'll drop this link in the chat and you actually should be able to access it anyway as a guest user until you have time to set up your account. And there's that right there in the chat. instantwild.zsl.org/projects/Laldega Hills. It should work really well on a phone. I tested it out earlier today and I actually prefer the mobile version right now, but I'll do it on my computer just so we can all see it and answer together. So I'm going to not cheat exactly, but I'm just going to use a picture that I know there's an animal in there so that we can have an example. So this conservation site and looking at camera trap images is fairly simple to use. All you're going to do is identify what you see. And so in this case, would I go and hit no animal? No. I see an animal. I see a little guy right there. And so I'm going to go over here and identify it. Now this looks like a rabbit to me. I know those ears well. And so I'm going to write the word hare to see if that comes up first. Yeah, it's usually hare instead of rabbit. I think that's an African savanna hare. Panelists, can you help me out? Do you think it's also an African savanna hare?
Definitely not an ibis.
Definitely not ibis, yeah.
Ibis, yeah, no.
No,
I'm gonna say
that'd
yeah.
be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think it's a hare.
Yep.
Okay, Sweet. We'll go ahead and hit tag. I can increase the amount. So if it was just a bunch of rabbits here, just like hanging out and having a party, I would add more. I would add the quantity up as one would. But since there's not, I'm going to go ahead and say confirm identification, and it'll move me forward. So that's one identification. You should be able to do many of them, and I can do more examples. But because we're low on time, I'm going to pause myself right here and actually push us back to the slides to close us out. I did ask in the chat earlier if there were any questions. I would love to make sure we had time to answer them. So if you or the folks in the same room as you have questions, we would definitely want to answer them. A note as well, if any of you are thinking this is the thing for me, this is the activity for me, if you would like to become an ambassador, a SciStarter ambassador to help others find citizen science projects and do activities with you, do citizen science with you, now's the time. It's actually the last call to apply to become an ambassador. We'll make sure that's in the link bank list for you, as well as the library network newsletter sign up, because if you love what your library does, or you love being a librarian or library staff member, we want to make sure that you have access to all those data points or access to all the information that we can give you about how to participate. And Claire just dropped the link to the link bank in the chat as well, and that will be in the follow-up email. I'm going to pause here. Tara, any other reminders and thoughts you want to make sure folks know?
No, I mean, really, if you are contributing right now to the Instant Wild project, don't forget to log your acts of science to be part of the 1 million acts or 2 million acts of science campaign.
2 million acts.
Yay.
New posters, everyone. We got to send out new posters.
No, yeah, we have to redo everything. But yes, please make sure that it's really, really easy if you go to citizensciencemonth.org or scistarter.org /citizen science month. It's really easy to log your acts of science, and you just got to report your acts. There we go. We're at 1.3 mil.
Yeah.
Almost 1.4.
We figured that out.
City Nature Challenge is this weekend. So, you know, if there was over 2 million there, I think we're gonna get a lot more. So
oh yeah.
But we rely on you to report your acts. So make sure that you do that. And yeah, we're really happy that we were able to host this for you today. And we're here through email, info@scistarter.org. And your local library is connected to us if you're here. So let us know what you need.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Just a note too for the reporting your acts for Instant Wild. If you signed up the link your SciStarter account, you don't have to manually link it, but there is a button to manually link up here or manually report it. Just wanted to clarify.
And for libraries that are on the line, if you're not signed up for the library network to receive the email and all of that, I'm going to put that link in the chat as well, though I suspect most of you are.
Most likely. Sweet. Yeah, thank you, everyone. And Taryn, Joanne, and Claire, thank you so much. We had a lot to share with everyone today, so I'm so glad y'all were game for rapid fire how to get started talk. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Emma.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and our Facebook. Bye, Facebook. See ya.
Bye, Facebook.
And then thanks,
Branson.
Thanks for being here. Pause or stopping recording. There we go.